women always have this like preconceived notion in their head that they're more than just beauty. I'm successful, I have degrees, I'm responsible, I have my own house, my own car, sort of stuff like this. I polled the audience and I said, men, would you rather have a beautiful, agreeable, useful, but unsuccessful career woman? Or sorry, but useful but unsuccessful career woman, average looking boss girl, but successful career woman. And the guys are all picking the beauties, right? So
Yeah.
when you ask the men what they want, they don't really care about an average looking girl that's, successful. The career that, because guys know that women don't share their pot of gold. It's only
Well,
men that share their pot of gold.
this is what's so interesting. And if you guys didn't watch last week's show, I know you're going to get ready to bring that up, but
Yeah,
there
I'll put
there
it up right
became
now. Here you
something
go.
at the end. So this is Anna, our friend Anna. She
She didn't look like
this
that on the
was,
show. Is that filtered?
of course, it's filtered.
It's got to be filtered.
I mean, come on. So she probably took that shot like 100 times, waiting till she got the one.
Right.
And so I can't remember exactly when this happened. I think this is after you logged off. This was like the last half hour, but we got into the you know, this was a follow-up on a question I'd asked her earlier. So she's a men's dating and men's relationship coach. She switched from coaching women because she basically found out that the vast majority of women, and this is me paraphrasing, but this is, I know I'm not wrong on this. She switched to dating coaching with men because women are not the ones that need help with dating. Like there's very few women out there that need to figure out how to get a guy to go out with them. Like you just
It's easy
exist
for
and
women to
guys
get
will
guys'
fall at your
attention.
feet. Yeah. So
So
like, it's not, so of course you go to men. And I even asked her, and I was just like, what would you do in this scenario? Like basically a dead bedroom. And she'd said what all these dums tell each other.
Mhm.
And then all these dumb women say, oh, you need to sit her down and you need to tell her what your needs are. And your needs aren't being met. And she's negotiating desire. And I was just like,
Mhm.
guys, this is why you don't listen to female dating coaches. This is why you don't listen to, even if they're right, you don't listen to them. And she got mad about that too, because I said, your sample size is one. You know what you like, but you don't know what it's like to date women, or you don't know what it's like to be a man and try to date women. And then she said something along the lines of, well, I don't know about you guys, but when my husband, blah, 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 does it around the house, I find that sexy.
Yeah.
It's so hot. And it's like, I didn't get my point across well enough, because somebody mentioned this to me after the show. It's like, look, I'll grant you that women like it when their husband or boyfriend or whatever does things around the house, fixes stuff, does blue jobs. They enjoy it, and they're attracted to it, but there's a distinct difference between attraction and arousal. It doesn't flood her basement. She's not looking to drop to her knees the minute he, clears the garbage disposal, essentially. But she took it to Instagram. She's like, oh, and her point was that I basically said there's no reason to listen to women when it comes to, because they don't know what they want. Like you don't listen to what they say, you watch what they do. And there was one of the commenters that said, well, you can just apply that logic to you, Moff. Well, if you're a woman, how do you know what women want? Or how can you sit here and say that if you haven't dated, men as a woman, then how can you say, because men, here's why. Men tell the truth. Men tell the truth with what they want on the internet. They'll say, I want fit, feminine, agreeable, fun. I want a girl that just shuts up when, I need her to shut up. I
Loyal's
want her to
another big
be,
one for guys too, but they don't
yeah, be
understand that women
loyal,
are
be
only as loyal as their
useful,
options.
be helpful. But you never will hear a guy, unless he's on a date with a girl that fits this category, you're never going to hear a guy that goes, I want a really highly educated and rich woman that's bossy, who challenges me and who fights with me for the leadership role in the relationship. And that's the major difference, because men don't lie about what they want. Or I won't even say women lie. They're just completely misinformed to what they actually respond to versus what they say they respond to. Men say what they respond to and are actually responsive to those things. So that's why it's not the same if that commenter is listening to this. But yeah, and then she tries to appeal to her fan base, these women that she coaches, and saying, oh, does chore play work? And of course, you saw the poll was like 90% yes. But I think people like that are bad people.
Follow her, right? Of
I
course, they're going
think,
to say yes.
yeah. And I think honestly, like, I don't want to sit here and say she's a bad person, but she very well may be a good person that's doing a bad thing. And when you're going from, an unfulfilling career and an unfulfilling marriage, and now you're divorced and you had 2 kids in tow. And then, I mean, I didn't want to call the husband out on the show, but the guy settled with a
Throw it out now.
38-year-old single mom with 2 kids from a different marriage. and they were long distance, opposite coasts for 2 years. That is not the kind of woman that a man with options goes for. It just doesn't happen. So the point being, I think I think women that are in the dating sphere, I think women that call themselves dating coaches, especially ones that are trying to talk to men, they should shut up. They should stay in their lane and they should go do dishes, because they're people that are giving bad advice, and they're the same people that call us toxic or misogynistic. But what we're saying is, we do what works, and the guys that listen to us do what works. And the reason we know this is because we tried the stupid shit that she is telling men to do, and it didn't work. And then we figured out what did work, and now that's what we do. So
Yeah.
it's tough, because it's just another another situation of the blind leading the blind, essentially. And she's going to lead men down a terrible path, and she's going to screw a lot of men over, and she's going to take their money. Why she does it?
Yeah, I don't know. I co-sign all of that. Like, all these female dating coaches are mostly just grifting. I mean, half the time they don't even know that they're grifting. Like, they say things, the guys respond to them, they get validation and comments and likes. Sometimes they'll pay them money. So they think that what they're doing is working, but at the end of the day, I can't see a single guy that's doing. Like, we have an example of a very attractive, handsome guy that just offed the CEO of this healthcare company, which we're going to show you in a little bit. And, in the comments, how women are fawning over this guy. They're not fawning over him because he's doing the dishes or sweeping the floors. They're fawning over him because he's a Chad and he looks awesome. And he did something that most people don't do, which is off somebody else, right? Like, he's a freaking assassin. We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, the point about the ladies' night and bringing it back was really, the hardest part for us was the talent and the flake rate, them just not showing up and doing the recruiting and all that sort of stuff. And that's just women. I mean, if you date, like, how they are, they reschedule, they cancel on you. That's just what they're about. So we got that sorted now. Spencer's doing a great job. Shout out to him. Tomorrow's show will be big. There's an awesome lineup for those shows, guys, because there's a lot of activity in the live chat. If there's a question you want posed to the ladies on the show, especially at the moment, super chat it and they'll throw it up on a screen. There'll have to be a threshold. I mean, Moff said it at the start of the show and say,
like $20.
Yeah, it'll get read out loud right away. Otherwise, just leave it to the end of the show.
If we're really cooking, like, we don't want to pause in the middle, unless it's, if it's a $2 super chat that throws it off. We're not saying don't send a super chats. We appreciate it, obviously, but there were a couple times last week where it was like, this could have waited. Anyway, I digress.
We should say here again. Sorry, I was on a pretty ridiculous live YouTube podcast this week where the male hosts were telling me that chore play doesn't work. Men doing chores as a way to turn on their woman.
I love how she didn't even give us credit either. She didn't even tag us in the. She didn't even tag us. It
always has to be like a selfie, picture of her going like,
yeah, it's performative.
It's always the same photographs with these gals, man.
It's performative.
It's hilarious. All right, guys, I really hope that you enjoyed that clip. If you want to check out the full-length podcast episode, you can find that right over here. Also, make sure you visit my website over here where you'll find my supplements, the opportunity to book me privately one-on-one for coaching, and most importantly, my new School of Unplugging, which you'll find on the courses tab. Newer to the channel, hit subscribe.